In 2014, the last time Kerry and Donegal played, the most brilliant tourist initiative in this country was launched in 2014. That was the Wild Atlantic Way, which linked Donegal all the way along the western seaboard to Cork. It was a brilliant initiative because it highlighted the beautiful region that is the Wild Atlantic Way, and it brought tourists to hitherto unknown, beautiful locations. And it was a success. But the bottom line is I was involved in this rural business for a few years, and it was frustrating because people weren't working with you. But you look at the Wild Atlantic Way, and if you look at it in the cold light of day, it's a beautiful route. Spectacular. And some towns are doing very well. Some villages are doing very well. But not a lot of towns and villages are not doing well. Tourism is seasonal. Towns and villages are dying away. Services are being closed down. Shops are being closed down. Post offices, pubs, churches. We had 2 churches in Timpano. None of them are open anymore. I mean, that's Timpano. We don't have a church to go to every Sunday. So, like, the bottom line is, and the key, and I always say, the canary in the coal mine, the barometer for rural Ireland is the GAA club. And you look at a lot of the GAA clubs from Mallinhead all the way down over towards Errishead, Belmullet, over back into West Connemara, West Clare, West Kerry, South Kerry here, over to West Cork. GAA clubs in these regions along the Wild Atlantic Way are struggling due to depopulation, due to lack of numbers. So a Wild Atlantic Way was a brilliant initiative. But I'm telling you this is a fact, that if it's 11 years again before Kerry and Donegal play in an All-Ireland final, a lot of GAA clubs that are struggling at the moment along that Wild Atlantic Way, struggling to field teams, unless we come together and work out a plan, a lot of those clubs will not be in existence in 11 years' time. And that's the sad reality.
Can we just unpick that just for another minute? Because it's very interesting. What would you go about doing? Because I remember that ad. It was brilliant. It was Kerry were going to play Donegal, and they had the line going through.
It's beautiful.
And I still remember the voiceover. It was like, "This is football, the Wild Atlantic Way," and it was like, "Wow, this is great stuff." And 2 of my favourite counties. I think they're the 2 most beautiful counties in Ireland.
Stunning.
What would you do for that depopulation, or the clubs to save them?
It has to be about people. And this is what's forgotten about. A landscape must be a living, breathing landscape. And by living, breathing, landscapes must have people. And there's a danger that a lot of our landscapes along the Western Seaway, along the Wild Atlantic Way, that a lot of our landscapes in years to come will be no different than national parks where tourists will drive through, see beautiful scenery, and no towns, no villages, and no one living there. Abandoned schools, abandoned guard stations, whatever like that. It's about people. It's about getting people into the area. That's the key. It's about people. And any plan. Look, I did it. I was a rural ambassador, and I remember one time, I went into it with wild-eyed and bushy, and I'm going to help out rural Ireland. I live in rural Ireland. I love rural Ireland. I'm proud of rural Ireland. And I remember going into being ambassador for rural Ireland, and I said, "This is great. I'm going to change the world." I was naive and innocent. I was swallowed up. And I remember going to the first meeting of all the various stakeholders, whether it is tourism, business, farming, all the various stakeholders, county councils, everything. And I remember coming away just so frustrated and so down, and because I went to the minister at the time, Phil Hogan, and I said, "This is terrible." And I said, I come from a sporting background where if I go into a dressing room and everyone is wearing a blue jersey, I know they're with me, they're playing with my team. But I said to Minister Hogan, I went into that dressing room and there's no one playing with my team. There's no one playing as a team. And he said, and he summed them up. He says, "They're Gaelic fullbacks." And I said, "What do you mean by that?" He says, "They're only protecting their own patch." And until such time as all the stakeholders of rural Ireland, including the government, the powers that be, come together and come up with a plan, I'm telling you this, we're going to witness the death of a lot of beautiful parts of rural Ireland, and the end of GAA clubs in a lot of those areas. We need a plan. I was involved with the GAA, and I chaired an initiative involving with rural, and I presented to the management committee in Croke Park this plan, and the plan was and it would take me a long time to explain. But basically, the general gist was that for a club to create 10 jobs within a club area. The plan was passed. It's still gathering dust in Croke Park. So lads, between Croke Park, get it out. Maybe Jarlath or someone might find the file. There's a plan there for J clubs to create 10 clubs within their club area for the J and the government. All the stakeholders work together. But otherwise, there'll be a lot of clubs in Kerry and Donegal in the next All and they won't be there.
Pat, that's great stuff. Let's do a separate show on that. It sounds like it's definitely.
Look, Conan, I was involved in that. And unfortunately, I was outspoken, which doesn't help, as you know. I was outspoken. I fell on the wrong side of a lot of people. And when you fall inside of powerful people in authority and political authority, and it was frustrating. Would I ever get involved again? It would take a lot of persuading. But those peripheral areas of Roland, those beautiful parts of Donegal, of Mayo, of Sligo, of Kerry, of Clare, of Cork, some of those areas are dying and they need saving. They need a plan and they need action. And it's about people. It's nice to have lovely roads linking them, lovely viewing points, and lovely towns. But if the towns and the villages have no people and no services and no shops, they're museum pieces. They're just, you may as well be driving through a film set.